We read chapter 28 from Eyrbyggja Saga in the first week of our course. It's the scene where the two berserks get killed. A pretty brutal episode, to be sure. Styr, the man whom the berserks serve, gets nervous when one of them takes a fancy to his daughter. After consulting Snorri Goði, Styr executes a plan in order to get rid of them. He makes the berserks clear a path through a rough lava field, leading all the way to his own home. It's an arduous task of Herculean proportions, and the berserks are exhausted when they finish. Afterwards, Styr invites them to relax in his bathhouse, where they are taken by surprise, locked up and killed. He buries their bodies in a lava pit near the path, and thus ends the story of the berserks. The author of Eyrbyggja Saga obviously assumes that the path of the berserks is still there at the time of writing. In other words, this is an episode that seems to be included in the saga as an origin story of a landscape phenomena that the readers are familiar with. Even today, this same path remains a popular destination of hikers in Snæfellsnes. I'm standing in Berserkjahraun, the lava field of the berserks. It's one of the roughest lava fields in all Iceland. It has only minimal vegetation, and during the 4,000 years that have passed since it flowed, it has seen very little wind erosion. It must have been immensely difficult to pass through during medieval times. So the very idea of clearing a path through it would certainly have seemed far-fetched to many. And yet we find a number of short paths and tracks around the field intended for horses and hikers. It's hard to tell exactly how old these paths might be, but we can be sure that at least one of them is older than Eyrbyggja Saga itself. It's the path of the berserks, the one commissioned by Styr. Besides the path itself, we also find a dike and a sheep shed, just as described in the saga. By the eastern edge of the field, close to the path, we find the lava pit where the berserks are said to have been buried. The one depicted in the saga as so deep that nothing could be seen from the bottom except the blue sky above. In the 1960s, Icelandic scholar Þórhallur Vilmundarson proposed an alternative explanation of the place name Berserkjahraun to the one offered in Eyrbyggja Saga. His suggestion was that the name had nothing at all to do with berserks and could be explained otherwise. Let's take a look at the name. Berserkjahraun, that's how it's pronounced. As indicated by the hyphenation, it's a compound word. Hraun means lava, but it's the other one we're interested in, berserkja. This is the genitive plural of berserkur, which means, as you may have guessed, berserk. But Vilmundarsson's hypothesis was that in this context, it meant something else. In fact, several place names in Iceland include the word serkur in some form. The most famous phenomenon which has it in its name is Hvítserkur, a 15-meter high basalt stack along the seashore of northwest Iceland. In the saga of Eric the Red, a mountain in Greenland is called Blásserkur. These place names and other similar ones caught the attention of some 19th century scholars who were skeptical about Eyrbyggja Saga as a reliable source. People mused on the etymology behind the word berserkur, and the suggestion appeared that this word was itself a compound word, berserkur. Ber means naked in Icelandic, and serkur means gown, shirt, or tunic. Taken together, berserkur would then potentially refer to someone who is stripped naked of his shirt. In other words, defenseless or vulnerable. To fully explain this, they started looking around in Berserkjahraun and found 4 craters, so-called spatter cones, low, steep-sided hills consisting of welded lava fragments. These are the volcanoes that the lava flowed from in the first place, and they are completely barren and devoid of vegetation. They are, metaphorically speaking, stripped naked of their shirts, berserkir. If we assume that the lava field's name comes from these craters, it necessarily follows that the story of the two berserks is made up from scratch, an amplified pseudo-etymology with the purpose of explaining a place name through the context of a saga.